Let's see whether we're able to hold on to that 24,950 print, which we did give up in trade yesterday. Much lower than that. We've even taken the 24,900 level in trade. 24,850 is where we're circling around right now in trade. I want to check in on the banks firstly, because that was the one, sector which dragged us lower yesterday. Let's see what the Nifty bank is up to. It's underperforming the Nifty right now. 0.6% lower for ICICI Bank. HDFC Bank as well starts off with a red tick. I want to check in on what Axis does, because Axis perhaps was the sole winner in yesterday's trading session. But that was not the case with some of the financials like a Bajaj Finance, which also fell nearly 2% in trade yesterday. Or for that matter, even the likes of some of the other heavyweights like a Reliance, L&T, Kotak of course was also a laggard, M&M, Titan, TCS, Tata Motors, Trent, they were all laggards in yesterday's session. Today, one can see a green tick come by on L&T and a much more resilient start for M&M as well, while Titan, of course, continues to see the drag. What about IT as a pack? Before with that, the Nifty IT pack, TCS, Infosys, HCL Technologies, whether there's any rub-off coming in from HCL or rather Accenture numbers or not, those stocks will just come up for you on your screens. And then, of course, Sun Pharma and Biocon, the two entities perhaps which stand to get most impacted because of the 100% pharma tariffs now on branded and patented drugs from October 1st. Biocon starts off 2.5% lower, and Sun Pharma, I guess, would see perhaps the bigger damage because they have a lot more patented drugs in the US. 4.5% lower for Sun Pharma as we speak right now. By the way, is this weakness rubbing off on the other pharma pack as well? What about Cipla, Oro Pharma, etc.? Want to just check in on those names as well. Cipla too lower by about 2%, although they don't have exposure to the US when it comes to the patented drugs, and a much lesser fall for Oro Pharma, Lupin lower by 1% as we speak. But yes, Sun Pharma is the one which is bearing the most brunt, although they do have manufacturing facilities in the EU, so perhaps, there would be some way that they could work it out. But 4% lower, that's the first slash that you're seeing on Sun Pharma. What about Carizal, Stovecraft, Stanley Lifestyle? What about those names? Well, how are they impacting or taking it or absorbing this tariff news flow? Stovecraft lower by about 2% right now. Carizal as well as Stanley will just come up for you on your screens next. 1.5% lower for Stanley Lifestyles, and Stovecraft will just come up for you on your screens next. Then, of course, you've got Tata Motors. They've begun the phased restart of operations. Some digital estate is now up. That's what JLR seems to be indicating. So flat for Tata Motors right now. L&T, of course, is your big winner today. The Telangana government is going to take over the phase 1 of the metro with a debt of about 2,000 crore rupee equity value. L&T 1.5% higher as we speak right now. There's Wockhardt as well, wherein Lancet has published a positive phase 3 clinical study of one of their drugs. So look out for what that stock does. And then Wright, which has bagged an $18 million order from South Africa, that also could be perhaps in focus. And then Polycab, wherein JP Morgan Fund, Morgan Stanley, HDFC Life were among the buyers in yesterday's block deal. Polycab yet to see the first waves trickle in. There's also TVS Motors, by the way. They're looking to acquire a two-wheeler, three-wheeler Italian design and testing firm in Italy for about 5 million euros. Small acquisition, but perhaps strategically meaningful at that. So these are a bunch of stocks which are on our radar this morning. Kunal, before I talk about the Nifty, I want to talk about Pharma. Sun Pharma, if you can read that one on the charts, and